You can't be a good parent if you're not present.
Mom, are you watching us?
Sorry.
It's so important for kids to have a healthy lifestyle.
Did you wash?
Yeah.
With soap? Back in.
Mom!
You have to find the funny all the time.
That is not funny. Separate! Separate!
Hi, welcome to another episode of Perfectly Imperfect Parents. I am Mallika Chopra, and I am here with my friends Dani Modisett and Dr. Cara Natterson. So today's episode is on managing the generations and how are our parents involved in our lives, our extended families. Often our parents may have different approaches or points of view than we do. And I'm sure I have probably a different story than you guys.
I think that you probably have a different story than my story. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that it's probably very different.
Probably, so why?
Well, my mother lives 3,000 miles away. So she doesn't have like obviously daily interaction. She sees them like 4 times a year. My father-in-law, however, is very close by. And he's a really interesting man, and a war veteran of 2 wars. So he is very pro all of that. He actually has ear damage from all his service. And so noise really bothers him. Like it's very distracting. So he's not so great with the young ones.
So my kids were very lucky. They were born with 7 great-grandparents. So for us, it's not just grandparents. They had 7 great-grandparents. And for us, the priority is to feel connected to your family. So we go to India every year so that they can get to know our grandparents. And my grandfather, probably similar to your father-in-law, you know, my grandfather grew up in British India. Wow. He grew up in what is now Pakistan. During Indian partition, had to leave Pakistan like in 24 hours and moved to Delhi, and he was a refugee. Wow. And so, and he blames Muslim people for that kind of in his life. You know, it's at his core. But when I go home to India and my kids sit with my grandfather, my grandfather will say things to them like, "Don't go near Muslim people, they'll kill you." And everybody sits on edge and says, "Stop, stop," you know, and my kids look at me with these big eyes like, what's he saying? And my grandmother will tell him, "Be quiet, we have Muslim people in our family, our closest friends." And he says, "Don't go near them, they will kill you." And it's like he's at an age now where do you try to correct them or not?
And I do think it's that generation that makes some of the most bold statements because they're so far removed from our kids' generation. I feel guilty when I let my kids see that difference of opinion because I don't want to be disrespectful to my mom.
Oh, you're so good.
Well, I didn't say I was good about it. I said I felt guilty about it.
I do not feel that way.
They see it. My kids see when I disagree with my mom. And I think it's not thoughtful. It's not honoring your elders. It is disrespectful, but I disagree. And sometimes I feel like my disagreement trumps my desire to be respectful, and that is hard. And my mom and I have a pretty open relationship, and we talk about a lot of things, and we can talk these things through, but I wonder where the modeling is for my kids.
The whole thing is a very hot button issue for me right now, actually. This whole multi-generational and respect and you know, how you communicate your true feelings about something while also modeling for your children how you hope that they will treat you because, you know, we're all just marching down that road, right?
See, now I come back to that's as a parent at some point you also give control and you trust. And, you know, my mom or my mother-in-law may have a different way of feeding my kids when they're with them. And I have to for me, I have to let go and be like, it's fine. They will love my children. They will keep my children safe.
Yes, but you're talking about feeding. Feeding is different than safety. And I'm, you know, with all due respect to my father-in-law, I really do love him. He can be very, very tough. Too tough for my taste. It doesn't make me feel good. So it just worked out better that he's not alone with my children, that's all.
And the place where I'm sort of monkey in the middle a little bit is that when I hear the sentence uttered, well, you did fine, you survived childhood, you turned out fine, to me, that puts me on the defensive, because what that means is I'm not going to change my ways because it was absolutely fine for you, so there is no reason that I should fill in the blank, whether it's, you know, the safety measure that I want in place or the feeding strategy or whatever it is. And that, to me, is argumentative. And I don't like that because I feel like I want to be the parent.
Maybe it's the grandmother who, you have a daughter, and the grandmother's like, oh, are you fat? I think you look a little fatter than you used to.
Identical situation, very different realm, but yes.
You know, you don't look as pretty as you did the other day. Yeah. Like, you know.
Because it affects decision making down the road. Yes.
But again, and this is where I go back to, like, you have to make a choice, like, you know, so it's okay for my kids to not always hear, like, you're, you know, oh, how great you know, did so well on that, or that drawing's perfect, rather than the reaction, which is like, well, you didn't draw the tree right. So I think it's okay for the kids to hear that too.
I have taken a page out of my mom's book on that one, and I will say to my daughter when she gets dressed up in an outfit, I will say, you are so beautiful, but that is the worst outfit I have ever seen. Like, I will tell her what I think, and you know what, as a result, she will tell me what she thinks, and it's a dialogue, and it's not a judgment.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's good.
Yeah, so we all are of a generation where we are managing our kids, but I feel like we're also starting to manage a generation above us. I've always had the assumption that when my parents grow older, or my husband's parents get older, that not only will we take care of them, but they'll live with us, and which there's a whole nother of logistics involved with my in-laws being in India, and many of my Indian friends struggle with this. Do they bring their parents here?
Wow.
Or, you know, how do you manage? In our scenario, it's like the expectation that the grandparents will always be part of their life. They will never be separate from it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, how do you manage that when you're across the world?
It's a big, it's a big issue. Obviously, cross country, cross world. Like, how do you deal with it?
Right. So that is the big question. My husband tends to be very non-traditionally American, though, because his expectation the whole time is that his father will move in with us. So, you know, and he doesn't believe in nursing homes, and you know, so that's going to be challenging and a big adjustment for our nuclear family.
Yeah.
It sounds to me, when you repeat that, it
like
sounds to me like you're trying to tell yourself, you're playing the line because it's gonna happen one day. So
yeah, well, I'm trying to be, you know, open. I'm trying to be open, absolutely. So it's I think that is just a very big challenge.
Well, I think obviously we all have very different experiences and perspective and expectation. Any last tips or advice or thoughts?
Really, it's just what you can find peace with. My mother lives 3,000 miles away, and she's almost 80, and I also have the two young boys, and I'm, at this point, much more needed in my mother's life, so trying to figure out how I get everybody's needs met has really become very challenging.
Oh, that's so different from what we have in our life, which is all the grandparents here in town, all within 5 or 10 minutes of each other. And our juggle is sort of managing all the information that comes to the kids via the grandparent generation, whether that's good information or
less good. We won't say bad, we'll say less good.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Interesting. So thank you everyone for watching. As always, Perfectly Imperfect Parents. And we would love to hear your stories. Do you disagree with us, agree with us? Make sure you're subscribed to the Chopra Well, and we will see you for our next episode.